terrific hydrangea tips, but if you're watching, can you let me know if the picture is clear, because I'm on a different part of my garden and I'm not sure if my streaming works super great out here, and the only way to tell if it works great on a live is to go live and check it out. So if you can let me know if the picture is clear and if the audio is clear, that would be great. And yeah, so I'm going to get started anyway. So welcome to Cranbury Fields Flower Farm. If we haven't met yet, my name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranbury Fields Flower Farm here in Cranbury, New Jersey, and I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So I want to talk to you today about my hydrangeas. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of terrific hydrangea care tips, and I'm going to show you one of like the side gardens here that's kind of packed with hydrangeas. And then I'm going to show you just some like flower vase live trials that we have. Hey, oh, thank you, Janet. God bless you. I'm thinking like, am I talking to myself right now and I have to start all over? You're the best. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Good morning. Hey, everybody. Just double checking that the audio is okay, but Janet just gave me the thumbs up. So we're going to get started. So we've had some crazy weather here in Cranbury, New Jersey. And temps were like 92, 93, then they dropped down to 45. So some of my hydrangeas took a bit of a beating this year. Good morning, Brenda. Hey, Kathy from Missouri. Thank you for checking in and letting me know that you guys are here. And thank you so much for letting me know where you're from. I love to see how our flower tribe is growing around the globe each week. That's so exciting. So yeah, so this is what my endless summer look like. Hey, Aaron. Oh, bonjour from France. Nice to see you. Thank you for checking in. Hey, Tara from New York City. Oh, hey, Tara Johnson. You guys are all over the place. You're like all over the map. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this is what they look like. And I want to just give you, hey there, Cinceragasi. Am I saying that right? From London. Oh, I'm sorry. I just have to say hello to everybody. Good morning from Central New York. Hey, Josh. Hey, Susan from Arlington, Texas. Hey, Leisha. Good morning. Thank you for being here. So these guys are looking, you know, like pretty good. I have to say, I'm kind of surprised because I have to say one of my people that helped me with the landscaping, one of our landscapers actually gave this endless summer a bit of a haircut last year. And I usually don't prune back my endless summers. I think you guys know if you watch the channel, I always leave my endless summers alone because they come in on old wood and new growth. And I don't like to prune them because a lot of times I'll cut off all that, you know, like the hydrangeas that should be coming in on the old wood. But last year, he gave me a little bit of a haircut on here. But the good news is that he did it at like the end of summer. So if for some reason you do have to prune back your endless summer, it's okay to do it right after they bloom. Because if you do it like right after they bloom, say like the end of July, early August, then they haven't quite set their blooms in place for next year. So that's the good news. So these guys did come back, but I have to say, I think because of all the temp drops and this crazy winter, that my blooms are usually a lot bigger, but I'm pretty happy with the way they came in. I have to say, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. So here's one of the big things I want to talk to you guys about. A lot of times people talk about pruning out the dead wood from their hydrangeas. And that's a good idea because you want to get rid of anything that's dead because insects have a way of like burrowing their way into those dead stems and they can cause havoc. And then the plant has to support, you know, all that dead wood. But here's the story, guys. This guy here looks like he's like a dead stalk, but I'm going to investigate a little bit more. I can see there's a little bit of like a hole here. That means that there's probably an insect in there, which is not good for the plant. So right at this point, this guy's like a good candidate to cut out. But I'm going to keep going down and taking a look a little bit deeper. And what I'm seeing is that this guy is a good candidate to cut out up to about here. And the reason I say it's good to cut right about here is because there's like a branch. There's like another branching stem coming off. Sorry, this is like a little tough getting in here. I'm going to cut him off about here, but there was another branch right next to it. And if I follow that up, it has a lot of green stems coming off of it. Can you see those green stems there? And that means that there are hydrangeas. And as I follow that stem up even a little bit more, I have beautiful hydrangeas coming off of there. So if I were to have gone to the base of the plant and cut this entire branch out because it looked kind of dead a couple weeks ago, I would have cut off all of these blooms that you see here. So this is just like the method that I use. And, these are just tricks of the trade that I use here at Cranbury Fields. Some other people, may have better tricks, or they might have other things that they like to do. I'll wait until like the end of May, June before I start like getting rid of dead branches, because a lot of times these dead branches, oh, look at this little visitor that we have. A lot of times these dead branches wind up giving me blooms on like some of the side shoots. And it's hard to tell that in the beginning of the season because everything looks dead. So if you are going to prune out those dead branches, wait. I would wait until the end of, like spring to do that, because you might wind up cutting off all these guys that actually survived the winter and they could be looking tremendous, and then you go and cut them off by accident thinking that you're kind of just, trimming back some of the old wood. Now, here is one of my favorite hydrangea tips that I give so many people. A lot of people ask me, why are my hydrangeas looking floppy? Why do they look floppy in like the end of the day? I keep watering them and they're still looking floppy, and now I'm killing them. Here's the story, guys. This is called flagging. So right now it's only like 10:30 in the morning, 10:40, and it's really getting hot here. It's almost 80 degrees here in Cranbury, New Jersey. These guys are already looking dehydrated and floppy. And like, as a gardener, you're like, oh, my flower's so floppy, I better give it some water. This plant doesn't need water. It's doing something called flagging, which is normal, and it just means that the plant got really overheated. So instead of having the plant have to do all that extra work of keeping it hydrated and poofy, it's kind of just letting it droop for a little bit. And sometimes that happens with the leaves too. The leaves will start looking really wimpy and, kind of all like shriveled up. And what people will do is they'll come in here and they'll water it. And sometimes what happens is they'll overwater their hydrangeas. And if you overwater your hydrangeas, you're going to wind up getting this same look as if it's dehydrated. So if it's just flagging that's happening, if it's just like the temps got too hot, it needed a break, what's going to happen to this bloom is by late afternoon, early evening, he's going to poof back up. So probably I'd say by like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, I can almost guarantee this. Now this guy's going to get a lot worse looking throughout the day. He's going to get really just like deflated and wimpy looking, almost like he's about to die. But then if I come back out here at nighttime, 6, 7 o'clock, I can almost guarantee that he will be poofed up. And I can almost guarantee that because it rained here yesterday. I mean, we had like a lot of rain. So I know that we probably got, I don't know, maybe like an inch of rain, maybe 2 inches of rain. So there's no way this hydrangea is dehydrated right now. Like, I know it doesn't need water. However, if you're not quite sure if your hydrangea is experiencing flagging or if it really needs water, here's a terrific test. And it's called the Knuckle Test. And you basically just stick your finger in the soil. I can't get into this hydrangea because I've got these U's in front of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn around and, hey, Hugh. Yeah, I just gave them the 2 most important tips. You said, did I miss anything? No worries. You can watch the replay. You can watch the beginning of the replay later because I just gave the 2 juiciest tips in the beginning. So that's okay. Now we're talking about the Knuckle Test. So come down to the water. And come down to the soil. And what I do is I cleared away the mulch because you don't want to do this Knuckle Test in the mulch. And you're going to put your finger in the soil. You're going to dig down and you're going to pop it in the ground to like your second knuckle, like where your knuckle kind of bends there. So you're going to dig it all the way down to that second knuckle and you're going to feel the soil. And if the soil feels moist, you're going to leave it alone. Right now, the soil feels very moist to me. If you dig down to that second knuckle and the soil down there feels dry, it means your hydrangea needs water. And that's it. Like, that's the best rule of thumb that I find for watering your hydrangeas. And then what I'll do is I will water them at the base, because another thing that happens is people water their hydrangeas and they hit the leaves with a ton of water, and then it stays like that in the afternoon. And then sometimes temperatures cool off a lot at night and you get all those ugly brown spots, and then all sorts of problems happen. You get all sorts of diseases and fungal issues, and people are like, why do I have all these ugly brown spots? A lot of that is caused by the overhead watering. So if your hydrangeas do need water, water them at the base, and it's also the best idea to water them early morning because they're going to need that water to kind of get them through the hot summer days. So those are like some of my top hydrangea tips. You also want to make sure that when you cut it, a lot of people have asked me questions about bouquets. They said, when we cut our hydrangeas for bouquets, we don't want to over prune them and then not have blooms the next year. So here's the story with the bouquets. You're just going to like prune this guy. This guy has a whole bunch of different stems on here, and it's June. So when I come in here to prune this guy for a bouquet, first of all, I'm not going to do it this time of year. And I have a lot of flowers and vases in back of me. I'm going to show you that in a bit if you guys have some time to stick around. And I want to show you some vase trials that I have with different flowers. If you cut a hydrangea when it's not yet mature, this head, I can almost guarantee, is going to droop in the vase after 1 or 2 days. Mine drooped after just a couple hours. And I put them inside, I kept them in the cool temperature, I made sure they weren't in direct sunlight, and they flopped. I mean, they just completely went down. And I think that that's because they're just not mature yet. So if you're going to cut your hydrangeas for, you know, some of those bouquets, wait until they're either really mature, like super fluffy, you know, super filled out. But the best time to cut them for bouquets is when they're semi-dried out on the stem. So I'll cut like boatloads of my hydrangea when it's like, well, for the first batch for Endless Summer, because these guys are in now June, I'd say sometime around July when they're in almost like that semi-dried out stage. They feel almost crispy, but yet they're colorful. They're not brown yet, but the petals feel a little bit dried out. That's when I cut mine for bouquets. And a lot of times I'll just put them in water, keep them in a cool place away from sunlight, and then they turn into like a beautiful dried flower arrangement. So hold off on cutting back your hydrangeas if you can until they're in that semi-dried out stage. Hey Rosie, thanks for checking in. Thank you guys for continuing to check in. I see you out of the corner of my eye, and I can't always say hi, but thank you, because I do go back and I watch and I see who's here, and I actually have an ongoing list of all the places you guys are checking in from. So I'm going to try to post that list at one point. It's from like so many different countries and almost every state in the nation. So thank you for that. So keep those comments coming, please. I love that. So what else did I want to tell you guys? Let me show you one of these vase lives that I'm talking about. I have a flower course coming out. It's actually going to be 3 separate mini courses, and I think it's going to be done in the next 3 weeks. I've been working on this for like forever. And the first one is going to be how to grow a fresh cut perennial flower garden. The second one's going to be how to grow a fresh cut annual garden. And then the third guide is going to be how to use the fresh cut flowers from your garden to make arrangements for your home. So stay tuned for those. Let me know if you guys are interested in any of those guides, because they're going to be coming out, and I'd love to have like a pre-order. We're going to give some special giveaways for people that do pre-orders. We're going to have a lot of freebies, a lot of extra footage, all sorts of like great stuff for people that put in that order first. So let me know if you guys are interested in one of those guides. You can buy like one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, and it's going to be like a great gift for people. You can even like start doing your Christmas shopping once they come out and give them to all the gardeners in your life. So that's the story there. Hey B, thanks for checking in from Texas. Oh sure, I love giving you guys the tips. So here's like some of the tips that I wanted to give you about like this vase life. So I went into my garden and I started cutting out a lot of these flowers that were kind of on their way out, and I had to prune them anyway. So I put them in fresh water, and I also put them in Oasis foam. And I'm going to teach you guys all about Oasis foam and the fresh water. And so we're just doing like vase life trials to see which of your flowers in your garden work best. And so I'm going to give you like a load of these tips. And I also wanted to thank Judy K for providing today's cup of caffeine. Thank you so much, Judy K. She went onto the website that I have listed below. And if you like the tips that I'm giving you guys, you can buy me a quick cup of coffee, and I really appreciate the support. So thank you, Judy K. You're the best. I wanted to give you guys a quick tip, and then I'm going to go back to show you more of my hydrangeas, but I want to do this because I'm sitting here now, and I don't want to give you guys vertigo like I do sometimes because I talk really fast, and sometimes I move around really fast, and then I get buffering, and then we lose each other. So while I'm here, I want to give you this terrific tip on this peony arrangement that I made. I have these gals in this container. Oh, look who came to join us. Hello, Lucy. She wants nothing to do with this heat. So I made this arrangement out of the peonies that are in the field right now, and I absolutely love this little farmer's market tin can. I don't even know where I got this, either like Walmart or Target or maybe Michael's or Amazon. And it wasn't water worthy, like it wasn't keeping the water inside of it. It was leaking. So what I did, and I do this with so many of my vessels, my like vase vessels, I just found a little Ziploc bag. It actually isn't even a Ziploc bag. It's a bag that some of my twisty ties came in. So it's just a plastic, like a hardcore, like heavy duty plastic bag that I had some zip ties in. I had bought them at like, I don't know, Home Depot. And I emptied the zip ties out. I put this plastic bag inside the container. You can kind of see it all popping out over here now. And then I filled the container with water up to here. And that made this cute little farmer's market into a vase. And then I just popped some of these peony blooms into it, and now it keeps the water in place. And so that's a great tip to do with some of your vases. You know, sometimes I'll have like a wooden box or something really cute, like a mailbox, or I have like a whole bunch of them on my last YouTube live where I showed you how to arrange peonies. And you could just put like plastic Ziploc bags inside of them. And sometimes I'll even like staple them inside wooden boxes, and it makes for beautiful vases. So this is just like some of the tips that I'm going to be giving you guys in those courses, but I want to share some of them with you now too. I try to turn my hydrangeas a little bit bluer by using a soil acidifier. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know, I know a lot of you do know, because I know a lot of you are really into flowers, but some of you are like beginner gardeners. You can change the color of some of your hydrangeas from pink to blue, from blue to pink, if they're a type that can be changed. So like my Endless Summer can be changed to like another different shades of like purple and pink if I change the pH of the soil. And there's a ton of products out there that will do that. So I sprinkled these guys with some of it this year. I haven't seen that much of a difference from like the blue that I usually get, but I'm still waiting to see. I'm still waiting for these guys, you know, to like completely mature. But I have to say, in the back of my garden, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose you guys, so I'm just going to do like one of these guys here. In the back, I have a hydrangea that I put like the opposite. So there's also like those, you know, soil, you're going to wind up changing it so that it can turn pink. So they have products there that will change the pH of the soil and make your, I don't know if you can see the pink ones back there. I'm not going to move because I don't want to lose you guys, so I'm going to back up. But trust me when I say that things like Endless Summer, some of those hydrangeas can be changed from blue to pink and pink to blue if you change the pH level. I will make a video to show you exactly how I did it. But know that you can't do this. This is another really popular question that I get, is that can you do that to like an Annabelle or an Incredible? Those are like the white hydrangeas. And can you do that color change to Limelight? And the answer is no. So if you have like a white, like a pure white, well, most pure white hydrangeas, the ones that I grow here anyway, you cannot alter their color. So that's like a very popular question. So you have to kind of deal with some of the pink ones. And somebody just said there's turn purple. Yeah, so the thing is, when you're altering the pH of your soil, it's not a one-shot deal. So sometimes people will use these, acidifiers, or they'll add lime, and they want it to change right away. Sometimes you have to continually do that because the soil kind of wants to go back to its natural, its natural level. So sometimes you have to do it a few times, but make sure that you don't overdo that, guys, because sometimes people add so much of these additives that they wind up getting less blooms because the hydrangea doesn't want to have that much of an alteration in its soil. So that's the story with that. So let me give you like a quick little tour of what this looks like. I'm going to back up because I know a lot of you are doing like landscaping planning now because you bought these amazing houses. And everyone's house swapping now. Isn't that crazy this time of year? Everybody's like buying and selling their houses. So a lot of people are asking for like landscaping tips. So here's the story here. Here's what it looks like when you come into my hydrangea row. I just want to point out my mint down here. So before you hit this hydrangea row, I've got a little bed. It's by my like garage doors over here. So here's what the flower bed looks like. And this used to be covered. Oh, hey, Ellen from Seattle. My son lives in Seattle. Maybe you know him. So here is the mint, and it just grows profusely. So if you want like an herb or like a great looking plant in place of the weeds in your garden, you can plant some mint. But you need to know this. Mint is very invasive, and it will take over your garden bed like so fast. I think I only planted maybe 6 or 7 plants here like 6 or 7 years ago, and it literally took over this entire bed. But I'm thrilled about that because it used to be covered with weeds. So now instead of weeds, I've got mint. It's perennial. It comes back every year. And what I'll do is I will use these beautiful green leaves as fillers for my cutting. So like once again, I make a ton of bouquets for my cutting garden. And instead of having to buy ferns or looking for fillers, I'll just snip these guys and use them as the greens in between like all the flowers. The trick is to kind of get them before they start turning brown because we had a lot of rain here, a lot of hot temps, and they will start to get kind of funky looking. But the fix to that is this. I come in here and I'll pinch off down here where like the plant no longer has those like crummy looking leaves. And I'll just give it like a little pinch. And what that does is that's going to encourage these little tiny baby leaves to get bigger. And then these mint leaves will continue to like grow throughout the season. So look how much it took over like this garden. Oh, you see my little bike back here? So here are some tall grasses. The rest of this bed is mint. Oh, and I'll use these mint leaves in my tea. So Sheldon and I will come out, like we came out last night, and we just like, we did a whole bunch of this like little snipping here. Like we just kept snipping them, pinching them off with our fingers. We got like a little cereal bowl full. And then we have them in our kitchen and we just like dunk them in hot water, and you have like instant tea, like instant free peppermint tea. And sometimes I'll just chew on some of this mint. If I want to have like some fresh breath, I'll put some like in the car. And I just have it there so that when you're going to see somebody, now that we're not wearing masks, you have to worry about fresh breath again. So anyway, so here's some more mints. I do have to cut them away from this like electric box here because everything's growing much too close to it. This is actually probably like a hazard right now. So don't do this. I like showing you guys my blunders. So this is a big blunder. I have to cut these guys way back. I should have did it when these grasses were dormant, because then I could have kind of quartered them and separated them and moved them to different spots. Now I just have to kind of dig it out and hope that I can transplant it and it will do great. So, oh, you need the names of the grasses. I wish I could tell you. I planted them like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. Does anybody know the specific name for these grasses? Let me give you a close-up. A lot of times you guys know so much more than me. Here's what some of these leaves look like. Somebody do a Google run. Or you know what? Use that. I told you guys about a great app called Garden Answers. It's in the App Store. It's free and it identifies plants. The problem is it doesn't always give like the exact specific name. Like it might say this is like a grass or a fountain grass. So, but maybe it does, because I love using this app. So if you haven't downloaded Garden Answers app, download that and maybe it will tell us the specific name. But does anyone know what the specific name for this is? Let me get closer again. The leaves are a solid color. They don't have any striping. They're kind of thin. I'd say it's probably about 6 feet tall at its mature level, because like I said, this guy's pretty old. So those are the clues I can give you guys, like Scooby-Doo fans. So go out there and solve this mystery. 6 feet tall, 6 to 8 feet tall. And that's the story. Okay. Is it too early to expect buds from panicle hydrangea? Oh, Hugh, great question. Yes, because I have so many panicle, the Limelights, hydrangeas, and I have nothing from them right now. So it might be a little too early depending on where you live. Does anybody have Limelights growing? I'm sure our southern friends have a boatload of their hydrangeas, in place right now. But here in my zone 6, I don't have it. So not yet. Okay, so let me back up here. I kind of got sidetracked. Sorry. So landscaping ideas. I like flow. So when we put in this walkway, I have like a bit of a windingness. So it's not a straight shot. I have like a little bit of, you could tell everything's kind of curved. So if you're looking, oh, no sunflowers yet, Daryl, but thanks for checking. But sunflowerselections.com sent me like 10,000. So I'm hoping to see them to come up soon. So here's the winding road of what the path looks like. And then once again, you've just got the mint, and this is such a low maintenance area, guys. I don't do anything to this little spot. I mean, it's tall grasses, it's mint. These green hedges are called yews, Y-E-W, and then I've got ivy. I have ivy coming up all over my house. One day this ivy is just gonna like bury my house, and you're just gonna see a big mound of green. So lots of ivy. None of these plants need super amounts of care. I basically pop them in the ground, and I don't even have irrigation going on back here. Sometimes if it's super hot, I will take the hose to my hydrangeas. I used to be really good when they were young, and I had a drip line system to get them established, so I was really good. It's super important that you really baby your plants as they're getting established. So for the first, I have to say, probably 3 or 4 years, I did baby these hydrangeas. But since then, the drip line system got clogged. It wasn't really working, and so now I just like water them with the hose when they need it, but for the most part, Mother Nature just takes care of them. So here's the yews. It kind of winds around. And I want to show you another little trick back here. I have these hiding my air conditioning units. Hey, good morning. Thank you for checking in from Silicon Valley, California, sunny California. Nice. Okay. Oh, the audio is great. Oh, thank you. Oh, the wind gets me at time. I'll try to talk closer to the microphone when the wind chimes in. Thank you for that tip. I appreciate that because it's hard for me to hear what you guys are hearing. Can you guys see like that? These are like little air conditioning units here. So when I first put these hydrangeas in, the thought was I've got this big kind of plain old wall, like, you know, nothing much going on here. So I said, well, let me pretty it up. Let me put some ivy around it. And let me put some hydrangeas in front of it so that you kind of hide it. And so that's what I did. And when I put these hydrangeas near the air conditioning units, I made sure they were like really far away from it. So believe it or not, these hydrangeas, even though they're tremendously big now, they were planted like 6 or 7 feet away from those units when I first put them in. And what I have to do is I go back there and I make sure that the ivy is not growing into them, because that happened one year and that was a lot of fun. So like we couldn't figure out why we had no AC. And Sheldon's like, are you kidding me? The ivy grew into there? Like, why didn't we think about that? So we have to make sure that we trim that ivy back, because ivy also gets very, very invasive. And I've also had to climb into my gutters. I've had the ivy climb into like my rain, you know, like the rain spouts. So make sure that you keep tabs on ivy. But I like this look. So instead of having just this, you know, kind of plain Jane wall, now I've got kind of like this cottage ivy look. I've got the hydrangeas. I've got, you know, like the yews in front of it. And I just think it just really prettied up this really plain section of my house. And so that's what this guy looks like back here. And guys, I see I'm missing some of your questions as I'm blabbing on. Please make sure that you hop on over to our Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because there's gardeners from all over the world posting pictures of their own beautiful flowers, and they're asking and answering a ton of garden questions there every day. And every now and then I'll pop over there and I give out like free sunflower seeds, because I appreciate you guys showing up there. And you're actually helping me so much, because I feel so guilty that I can't always answer all your questions. There's literally hundreds of them every week and I love them. I just can't always get to answering them. And the Flower Tribe family is helping me to do that. So thank you for that. So it's Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group. And let me think what else I can show you back here. There's another group of hydrangeas in back of these guys. These guys are called Big Daddy. So they're not in bloom right now. And I have to say, I always have to wait for them to come into bloom. The Endless Summer always come in first. Well, the first sets of hydrangeas that usually come into bloom for me are my Annabelle hydrangeas. So Annabelle's usually coming first, then the Endless Summer. And guys, just make sure that if you're not sure about the pruning of your hydrangeas, check out some YouTube videos. I have a whole playlist of like pruning, because I've had years where I didn't have any blooms on this plant, and it was because I like prune them back at the wrong time of year. So the rule of thumb is, if you have hydrangeas like Endless Summer or Nico hydrangeas that come in on old wood, that's, you know, like the stuff that was from last year, don't prune them back. I just don't prune mine back at all usually, unless my landscaper comes in like we did, you know, he did like by accident this year and did it, because you have to make sure that there's a very small window, like right after these flowers are in bloom. That's probably the only time you should kind of like prune them back. If you leave them alone, they come in beautifully. So everyone's like, oh, I have to prune, I'm not going to get flowers. You don't have to prune. Like, flowers have been in nature for like, you know, how many years, like how many, you know, thousands and thousands of years, and nobody came in here and pruned them, and they continue to bloom. So don't worry too much about the pruning. Check out those care tips that I have. I'm going to, you know, post them at the end of this description, so like once it gets completely posted. And so that's it. All right, you're in love with the tall grasses. Oh, okay. Somebody help us with the name of that tall grasses, please. Maybe on our Flower Tribe Facebook group, we'll have like a grass, because there's like so many different tall grasses that are out there. I don't want to give you the wrong name. I actually have some tall grasses back here too. I don't know if you could see that back in the back of the garden. Let me take some of your questions now. Does pruning hydrangea, will it make next year's bloom bigger? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so for the Limelight hydrangeas, if you, now I did like a test this year, so I'm going to let you guys see that pretty soon. If you prune back your Limelight hydrangeas, and the best time to do that is when they're dormant, like in like the beginning of spring or like the end of winter, you will get much larger blooms. Like, they'll be tremendous and gorgeous. The problem is sometimes they're too floppy. So if you live in a place where you get like a ton of rain and a ton of wind, you may not want those giant colossal Limelight hydrangea blooms. However, they are beautiful, and they make for like a great dried cut flower, because they turn like green with a little bit of like red at the end. And I have a whole video on how to prune back Limelight hydrangeas. I usually leave my Limelight hydrangeas alone. I don't even deadhead them because I have so many of them here. It would take me forever. I leave them alone, and they come in year after year. But the flower heads are, like a little bit smaller. They're still giant. They're still like really big blooms. I'd say they're probably like maybe 8 or 9 inches. Like they're kind of like a triangle size. But they're still giant. They still come in. So I just leave my Limelight alone. I don't prune mine. And same thing with my Annabelles. I usually don't prune mine back, but this year I did another test because I want to show you guys the difference, where I prune back some of them and the other ones I just left alone. But they're coming into bloom now. I'm going to give you guys a lot more hydrangea care videos to show you the differences between those. Oh, is it pampas grass? That sounds familiar. It could be. Carex, just confusing because there are a few grasses that look the same. I know, when I go onto Google, I always think I'm so clever. When I see a plant that I love, I'll go to the Garden Answers app first. Most of the time they'll answer it for me, but other times, I'll go onto like Google Images, and then I'll see a grass that looks like the one I want to see, or like the flower, and then there's like 15 different variety names. But with this Garden Answers app, you can also like pay, I think it's like $1.99, and you can send your specific plant to like a horticulturist, and they email you back the answer. So that's just like another option. But try Google Images. That's helpful. But yeah, it might be pampas. I don't know. Any other ideas out there what this could be? I think that's everything I wanted to cover today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in these live videos. I love that you guys are letting me know where you're from. I love your questions. Let me try to take 1 or 2 more questions before I leave. Aside from improper pruning, what can cause a lack of blooms? Josh, thank you for that question. You're the best. I made an entire video showing you guys why aren't my hydrangeas blooming. It's like one of the #1 trending videos on my channel right now. I'm going to walk you through as many steps as I can, fast, because I know you guys are pressed for time. But if I don't, I'm probably not going to get to all of them. So check out that video on my channel, why aren't my hydrangeas blooming, because that's the #1 question I get asked. So we talked about the water. A lot of times people will overwater. They'll not know about flagging that we talked about in the beginning of this video. They'll confuse it for being dehydrated, and they'll overwater the hydrangea. So that's one reason it won't bloom. The second reason is they're gonna underwater it. So overwatering is a reason. Underwatering is a reason. The biggest reason people don't get endless summer hydrangeas, in my opinion, is because they prune them back at the wrong time. So when in doubt, don't prune this hydrangea back. I don't think, there were years I haven't pruned this back. I didn't prune it back for like 7 or 8 years in a row, and the flowers still looked spectacular. So when in doubt, don't prune. Let me think what else. Sunlight. Endless summer love morning sun and afternoon shade. So sometimes people just have their hydrangeas planted in the wrong area. Sometimes it's just a matter of lifting that hydrangea out of the ground when it's dormant in fall and moving it. So check out the type of hydrangea that you have, because there's a lot of different varieties, and see what their sunlight needs are. So for endless summer, they like at least like 6 to 8 hours of sunlight in the morning. And if you can do afternoon shade, that's the best, because then these blooms won't crisp up. And so that's a good idea. But if you only have like the reverse, and these guys are going to sit, like in shade in the morning and then have afternoon sun, that might be okay too, as long as it's not going to burn up. And it depends also which state that you're in and which country that you're in. Depends on how hot it gets. So let me think. So it's pruning, the water, the sunlight. Those are like the bees. Oh, fertilizing. A lot of times people over fertilize, and tons of people have lots of lush green leaves, but they don't have the flower heads because they have too much nitrogen in the soil. And a lot of times your garden beds will be planted next to like your lawn, and lawn fertilizers have a boatload of nitrogen in them. That's what makes your grass nice and beautiful green. And if you have like rain and it kind of washes some of that fertilizer into your garden bed, there's a really good chance that you just have a very high level of nitrogen, and it's going to give you really lush, gorgeous, beautiful leaves, but your plant's not going to bother to give you any blooms because it's so happy with its lush, beautiful green leaves. So you can do a soil test, and you can see if your nitrogen levels are very high. And most states have them offered at like this. It's called a cooperative extension. So you can just Google soil test in my state. And I know in New Jersey, Rutgers University does soil testing. And what you do is you pay like a little fee, you send them a little baggie of your soil, and they give you like what your soil sample looks like as far as like nutrients, what it needs, what it's lacking, what it has too much of. So too much nitrogen in the soil is usually a major issue why people have green leaves and no blooms. And a quick fix to that is not a quick fix, I'm sorry. A fix to that is to put like wood mulch around the base of the plant. but it's and as the wood mulch kind of breaks down, it'll help like even out the nitrogen level, but that takes a while. So that's just one, fix. It's definitely not a quick fix, but it is a bit of a fix. And then just hold back on the fertilizers. Everybody's so crazy about fertilizing their plants. I hardly ever use fertilizers back here. So cut back on the fertilizers, and that might help too. And I just want to show you guys how much more this hydrangea is flagging right now. So I showed you it before, like about a half an hour ago, and now it's just getting droopier and droopier and droopier. And for those of you that kind of joined in a little bit later, I just showed that this is called flagging. It doesn't mean that this hydrangea is dehydrated. It just means that it got too hot, and this afternoon is probably going to perk back up to its normal fluffy state, probably about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So don't overwater your hydrangeas. Sometimes it just looks a little floppy like that because of flagging, not because it's dehydrated. So that was like the number one tip that I think I can give you guys today. And so that's the story, guys. So I don't know, let me take maybe 1 or 2 more questions. I know a lot of them popped up when I was going on and on about why my hydrangeas. Oh, you're welcome, Josh. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your kind comment. Guys, your comments mean a lot to me. So I appreciate them when you put them in comments below, and it's just your questions and your comments. They really, they help me a lot. I really appreciate that. So, all right, I think I'm going to get going. Hold on. Can I put a climbing hydrangea in a pot? Interesting. I've never done that before. Has anyone ever done that before? Has anyone ever put a climbing hydrangea in a pot? I might have to try that. I actually haven't grown any climbing hydrangeas. I have to try those. They look really beautiful. Oh, thank you, Terrell Anderson. I appreciate that. I love you guys too. I love my flower family. All right, so I hope to see you over on the Kelly Lehman YouTube channel. If anyone has any advice on climbing hydrangeas planted in pots, please let us know. Hop on over to that Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because I'd like to know how to grow climbing hydrangeas in pots also. Your sister's been wondering why hers never bloom. Oh, great. Well, now you could be like the hero sister and give her like 7 or 8 tips on why they're not blooming. Or just send her the video. Love you too, Hugh. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. It's for zone 5 and I live in a 5. Oh, I missed that question there. Can we have a tour of your home in a video? I have a feeling, oh, you're sweet, Aaron. I guess I have to go clean up inside though. It's so funny. I spend so much time outside that I should really work on decorating my house more on the inside. But I'm going to keep you guys outside for a while. And eventually when I do get my house together inside, I'll take you on a tour, especially my kitchen, because the kitchen's pretty good. Okay. They get huge though. Yeah, well listen, a lot of these hydrangeas get really huge, but sometimes they take a while. Oh, one more reason why your hydrangea may not be blooming. If they're young, like these hydrangeas that you're seeing now, they didn't bloom like this until year 5 or 6. So the first, first, second, third, fourth year, I maybe had 1 or 2 blooms on them. So be patient. Sometimes it's just a matter of them maturing. So that's another reason why. They tried over and over to grow them in they tried to grow these climbing hydrangeas in pots. I don't know. See, here's the thing. I think a lot of times hydrangeas would prefer to be planted in the ground. I have seen, gardens where people have gorgeous, gorgeous hydrangeas growing in pots. I guess you just have to make sure that you have that drainage system going at the bottom of the pot. Make sure that there's holes drilled in the bottom, that the plants don't get root rot. Because another reason why hydrangeas don't bloom is because their roots get soaked in water and they don't like to have wet feet. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they can't grow those, hydrangeas in pots. So make sure that there's a drainage system going on there. You've grown new plants from branches with great success. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I need to do a series of hydrangea videos on how to propagate them. I'm really glad you guys said that. So thank you for that. Yes, I will show you how to propagate these plants. I have a row of Annabelle hydrangea that I think have literally self-propagated themselves. I started off with about 10 plants. I think I've got about 30 back there now, and they did it all by themselves, but there's a way that you can kind of help that process, and you can get double the hydrangeas each year. So I'll try to get some of those videos done. All right, guys, thank you, his daughter. That was a great tip. I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me the new video tips to make, because I'm always looking for new ideas, and you guys actually were the reason why I created that online fresh flower cut garden series, because so many of you asked me, how do I grow my own flowers in my own garden? So thank you for that. And I'll keep you guys posted when that series comes out. And let me see, I purchased one in a pot, but I put it in the ground. I put a photo on the Facebook page. Oh, thank you, Aaron. That's great. I'll take a look over there. That always helps me when you guys can show me your pictures on that Facebook group page. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. Come say hi to us over also on my Instagram page, which is Cranbury Fields, and it's spelled like my town, Cranbury. So check us out at cranberryfields.com. I have a good morning message every morning. I show you guys either a flower or some sort of like, bird sound, something that's like just encouraging to wake up to. So when you first wake up, don't check the news. Go to Cranbury Fields Instagram and get your good morning little message or picture and start the day on a happy note with nature. And you're welcome, guys. Listen, I will see you guys in the next video.